The release was planned in 4 iterations. What can be inferred from the burn down chart below after the third iteration? So you have a burn down chart. You need to interpret what is possibly coming out without much of ambiguity from this particular graph. And you need to pick up the 2 statements out of 4, which can be fairly interpreted from this particular graph. Yeah. So statements are pretty easy. The release is behind schedule or the release is ahead of schedule. 100 story point of work is pending or 100 story point of work is done. So these are the 4 statements. You can pause and make your judgment. Okay, so see, the idea here is my recommendation. Whenever you have a graph kind of situation, be clear what information is available here. What is x-axis, what is y-axis, and what is represented by the lines. So in the burn down chart, remember that in the x-axis, what you have iterations. So I can clearly say these are the iterations, iteration 1, iteration 2, something like that. So you have an iterations. What you have in the y-axis, that is a little tricky. You have remaining work in size. In case of here, I can assume it's a story point. Yeah, so that's something I can say. That makes me a burn down chart. So that's a burn down chart. We have y-axis remaining work in story point, and I have an x-axis talking about iteration. Now, what are these lines? So I can talk and interpret them as well. Yeah, not necessarily in the exam. You probably know them directly, but here we can probably interpret them as well. The blue line, which is coming here, is an expected line. That's why it is going till iteration 4. Means we are expected to burn in this particular way. Whereas the another color, the orange color line, is primarily focusing on the actual. So this is at the end of an iteration 3. This is where I stand. So this is my actual, this is my expected, which I had. Yeah, that's something I can say. Now, with this information in my hand, how do I see various options? So I can better put a blue line here, blue color here, rather than putting expected in the orange. So I can say this is an expected. Okay, so let's look at the option now once we have a fair understanding of the graph and its lines and parameters. The release is behind schedule, option A. Yeah, so that is pretty much clear. The release is behind schedule. Why? Because I have a more remaining work left than expected. So whenever in a burn down chart, your actual is above the trend line, above the expected line, it means you have a more number than anticipated. And what is this more number? It's a remaining work. So when you have a more remaining work than anticipated, then you are behind the schedule. Yeah. So simply I can say this is perfect. And when I say this is right, the another one is definitely wrong. I can't be behind and ahead at the same time. Done. So this A and B is easy to figure out. Let's look at C and D. 100 story point of work is pending. 100 story points of work is done. Now, this particular question might be given to just give you a little bit confusion. So you can say that you started from 200 and right now you are at 100, which might make you feel, what does it mean? Have I finished 100 or do I have a pending of 100? Or does it mean both? Yeah. So the answer here is, it clearly means you have a pending of 100. That is perfectly clearly coming out. It may not necessarily mean that you have done 100 points of work. There is a possibility you might have done little more in case some work has been added in between and you might have done it. So from a burn down chart, it also depends how it is presented. It's better to focus on something which is clearly coming, which is the remaining work. We have no indication of the done amount of work. Definitely the remaining work is equals to the total work minus done work. But here in many burn down chart, the total work might have fluctuated in between, So it's better if I have to choose out of C and D, better I choose a clear thing which is coming out. The 100 story point work is pending. That's clearly coming here. It might be, it might not be, depends upon how the overall burn down charts are plotted. So for me, the answer will be A and C because burn down chart always shows what is remaining, and I can clearly see the remaining is more than what is anticipated at this point in